Hi guys and welcome. Today I'm going to be trying on quite a bit of new Dior. They came out with those blush sticks. They are called the Rosy Glow sticks. I got that in 3 shades. I also picked up 3 of the Dior Backstage, the Rosy Glow in the blushes as well. And I also got 3 of the Lip Addict, the butters, and I've got one of them on at the moment, and I'll put those on towards the end of the video, the other 2 shades, and show you those. So nearly all of my makeup is done. I just haven't put on any bronzer. I may do that towards the end of the video once I've been playing around with these blushes, but I just wanted you to see what the blush sticks look like, and also the powder blush, what it looks like without any bronzer. Over the top of my foundation I have powdered as well, just so you know I'm putting this over a powdered foundation. So let's take a look at these Rosy Glow sticks. As I said, I've got them in 3 shades. Altogether these came out in 7 shades, and I'll pop a picture up there of all 7 shades. So the 3 that I ended up picking up were Candy and Toffee, and also in pink lilac as well. I picked up a different shade in one of the 3 powder blushes that I got. So when you first take a look at these, I think the packaging is just absolutely gorgeous. And one thing about the packaging, the outside shade, that matches what color you've got as well. So it's quite good. If you've got 2 or 3 sitting in your drawer, you can just take a quick look at the outside packaging, and you don't have to tip it upside down and try and read what's underneath. So I'll hold up the pink lilac one just so you can take a closer look at it. Isn't it just, it's just so beautiful. So these just pull out just like the Lip Addict, the lipsticks as well. And what you can do with these is pop them in there, and you can wind it up that way as well. So you can just have it separately. You don't have to put it in there to wind the blush stick up and down, but if you want to, you can. And I think that's just a really nice extra with this packaging as well. And each of these glow sticks, they have 6 grams of product, and they are made in France. So I'm just having a quick look on the website. It says the Dior blush stick offers 12 hours of custom color and a dewy glow finish that reflects light for cheekbones that appear enhanced and plumped. Thanks to a unique technology, each shade reacts to the skin's pH and takes on cool pink or warm coral undertones. Moisturizing and comfortable, the creamy texture of the Rosy Glow blush stick blends seamlessly. They say that these are ultra buildable and waterproof, and the Rosy Glow stick blends seamlessly for a touch of long wearing glowy color without a sticky finish. So it'll be interesting to see what these are like once I've got them on, because those of you that haven't seen my videos before, I have got mature skin, so I've got texture, but I also have really oily skin as well. Although it is nearly winter here, it's winter here tomorrow here in New Zealand, and the weather is definitely cooler. So I still have oily skin, but it's not as oily as, say, in the middle of those really warm summer months. And then also on the website, it gives you application tips as well. You can apply this with your fingers, you can apply it using a brush, you could even use a beauty blender. It's really up to you. And they do say if you want it to be longer wearing, then you can add the powder blush on top. I don't tend to double blush. I do occasionally, but whether I grab for a stick, say those recent Chanel ones, or just a powder blush, I usually just stick to the one. So what I'm going to do is I've got 3 shades, so I'm going to put 1 shade on each cheek, and then I'll wash that off and then put on both cheeks the 3rd and final shade for the glow sticks. So these are very pigmented. So here we've got Candy, then we've got pink lilac, and then we've got Toffee, and you can see that there is in them, you can see that really lovely glow. So let's start off with the one Candy. I just love this packaging so much. It just feels, it looks beautiful, and it also just feels really chunky as well. It's really lovely. Now, as I was saying, when I swatch this on my hand, these are very pigmented. What I'm going to do is just put, you can see how pigmented it is. I'm going to put about 3 dots there, and I'm going to grab, I think I'll use the Sonia G, this is the sheer buffer brush, just to buff these out. I think these would apply really beautifully using your fingers as well if you wanted to, or as I said before, I think a beauty blender would work really well. Now they do sheer out really, really beautifully. I'll build this up a little bit because I'm under the lights here, just so you can get a really good look at it. But for my everyday makeup, just those 3 dots and then blend it out, that would be enough. And I'm just going to touch it now. Now, as I was saying, I did have powder over the top of my foundation, so they don't feel sticky at all, and that's probably because I do have the powder. So I would say those of you with combination to oily skin like me can definitely wear these, and probably a good idea to wear it over the top of powdered foundation. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on. Actually, if I do a swipe, you can see how pigmented that is, but I'm just going to blend it out so it doesn't look too clownish. And these build up super easy as well, and they blend out really beautifully. They're just blending. I've actually just got a hair there. They are blending out just beautifully, and they do have a really gorgeous glow to them, but I would say it's a subtle glow. It just gives that very healthy dewy type of finish. And again, once I touch it, they still don't feel sticky at all, and I'm sure it's because of the foundation. So if you've picked these up and you think they feel a little bit sticky, and even if you haven't got combination or oily skin like me and you think they are just a little bit sticky, then try powdering over the top of your foundation first and then apply these, because as I touch them, they have dried down, not to a flat matte. You've still got that really beautiful glow, but I just think that works really well. So on my right cheek, I'm going to put the really beautiful, the lilac one. Again, I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3 dots. I'm just going to give my brush a wipe down so I'm not mixing the shades. But again, just putting that on, you can see how pigmented they are. So let's now blend this out. And even though you get, when I first put it on, those dots that were very pigmented, I think this does sheer out really, really beautifully. And again, that would be enough for me for my everyday makeup. You've just got that flush of colour. But for this video, I will put a little bit more on just so you can see. So I'm just going to put 3 dots again. So if you're blending it out and you want to build it up, you don't have to keep adding and adding. When I do the second lot, definitely get more of a wash of pigment, and the shade is really beautiful. I like Candy, I think that's really pretty, but I also love this pink lilac as well. I think it's just gorgeous. So I was just giving my brush a wipe down before I wash this off and then put on the third shade. So these have been sitting, this one for 2 or 3 minutes and this one for just over a minute, and they both feel really lovely. It doesn't feel like I need to powder over them again, and they actually feel a little bit like those, the Chanel Healthy Glow Sticks, the Le Beige ones that were recently released. They feel like that. They don't feel like a sticky balm at all, and I think both shades are really pretty. So I'm just going to wash this off and I'll be back and we'll put on the third shade. So for the third shade, Toffee, I have reapplied my foundation again, but this time I didn't put any powder over the top because I just want to try one without that powder and see what they feel like. So let's try Toffee on. Again, I'll just do it with those 3 dots. This is the shade that I wanted the most. I think this is going to look really pretty. It's going to look a lot more sheer than the other shades, but I just think it's gorgeous. And this one has, you can see it's a little bit more pearlescent than the other ones. I think it is gorgeous. So just going to blend this out. Now this one, because it is more of a lighter shade, I probably have to build it up a little bit more. But it is beautiful, and I think this would be a really beautiful summer shade as well. So this is like, it's a tan shade, very light tan with like a hint of peach in there as well. I would say it is a full-on peach, and it's nowhere near a coral. It's more muted, but it's really beautiful. So let's build this up a little bit. I'm actually going to put 4 swipes on just to build this up. And I think the shade is gorgeous. So on camera, this probably looks very sheer, but out of the 3 shades that I've tried so far, I think this is beautiful. I would use this one a lot for my everyday makeup. It's just gorgeous. Now, when I go to touch it, it does feel, it's not tacky. It just feels like it needs to set down. I don't know whether it would be sticky enough, say, if my hair came down in the wind, to stick to it. So I'm just going to leave it there a minute, just see if it dries down anymore, and then I can always powder over the top. But what I'm going to do after this is wash it off, and then we'll try on the powder blushes. So let's put it on the other side. But the shade is just, it's just beautiful. And I got the shade in the powder form as well, because I did think it was going to be really pretty, and I'm very pleased with it. I think it looks just gorgeous. So I've been letting this shade sit for about, it's only been a couple of minutes really. And this is the one I put on first. I'm just going to see if there's a difference. Now the cheek that I put on first, it has dried down a little bit. It still feels, like I said, it's not really tacky. It's just that you can feel it. And I think with my oily skin, I would need to powder over the top. But now that I've tried the other 2 with foundation, and then the powder over the top of the foundation, and these over the top of the powder, I think that's definitely the way to wear them, especially with my oily skin. I do think these look really beautiful. I'm just not too sure. Maybe they might go a little bit shinier or wear off a little bit quicker, just because of that glow. So with the Chanel Le Beige, the Healthy Sheer Glow Sticks, whatever they were called with the Le Beige collection, when I would put those on without the powder, they feel more matte than these ones, but I still think these are beautiful. Just like I was saying, you do, for me, will have to wear it with the powder over the top of the foundation and then pop these on. But this shade Toffee, I'm so pleased that I picked it up. I thought it was going to be beautiful, and I just think it's gorgeous. So now let's take a look at the powder blushes. I'm going to refer to them as the powder blushes as opposed to the glow sticks that I just tried on. These also have been released in 7 shades, and they correspond to the same shades in the glow stick. So if you do prefer to double blush with the glow stick underneath and then the powder on top, although you can wear it either way, you can put powder on first, the powder blush, then the glow stick over the top if you want to, then they do have the matching shades. And I'll put a picture up here so you can take a look at the different shades. Now the 3 shades that I picked up aren't quite the same as the glow sticks, or one of them isn't. I picked up Candy and Toffee, the same as the glow sticks that I just tried on, but I did pick up the shade Rosewood as well. So here is the packaging, and it is different to the previous Dior Backstage blushes, and I would say if they're anything like the glow sticks, then these are going to be more pigmented than the previous releases as well. I think this packaging is really lovely, and I prefer it over the older packaging. So here is one of the original Dior Backstage Rosy Glow blushes, and this one is in the shade Pink. And then 2 or 3 years ago they released another formula, and as you can see, the typeface on the front, the Dior logo, it's all in capital letters instead of in uppercase and lowercase, and of course the rectangle packaging opposed to the square. Now one thing with the previous Dior Backstage blushes, this is one of the original ones in pink, this built up really beautifully and also was very blurring as well. It was really gorgeous. And then they released quite a few of these, and I have got quite a few of them. Now a lot of people complained that they didn't swatch very well, but once you actually put them on, they actually did look really beautiful, and I found that you could build them up as well, but some people weren't that impressed with them. They still didn't think they really had enough pigment. So it's going to be really interesting to see what these new ones are like, because I haven't tried them yet. So first of all, we've got Candy, and Candy has a pearlescence to it. Actually, it looks really beautiful. It's very gorgeous. Next we have Toffee, and finally we have Rosewood. Now Toffee and Rosewood I think are more matte than the shade Candy. Toffee might have a little bit of pearlescence to it, but Candy has definitely got the most, and it's actually really beautiful. It's like it has almost got a little bit of a gold shift to it. It's very pretty. So the main points for this blush is that Dior says it is long wearing and buildable. They say custom color thanks to a formula featuring a technology that reacts to the skin's pH to create a personalized color. Says it gives a healthy glow and is now even more buildable thanks to a formula concentrated in pigments. And when I swatch them, these are definitely more pigmented, and they also swatch really beautifully as well. They say they're ultra fine, lightweight, and the blush blends seamlessly with the skin. And then, like I showed you in the picture, there are the 7 shades, and it says there are 2 different finishes, a natural blur and a pearly type of finish. So I would say the Candy, that has a pearlescent type of finish. Toffee may have, I have to see it once it's more on my cheeks. I think that might be more of the blurring, and the Rosewood, that is, I would say that's definitely more of the blurring and hasn't got that pearly finish. So again, I'm going to put 1 shade on each of my cheeks and then wash that off and then finish off with the final shade. So first of all, let's start off with the shade Candy. I'm going to use my Victoria Beckham brush. This is the powder brush, but this also works really well for blush. So I'm just going to tap a little bit on. You can see how pigmented it is. Now I only really just very lightly touch it into the pan, and you definitely get really beautiful payoff. I'm just going to go into it again so I can build it up, so you can see how it builds up. So this has that pearlescent finish, and it is very beautiful. Now you may not want this if you have, everyone's got texture on their skin. Some people, it really worries them about their texture, although texture is perfectly normal, but they don't like that to be emphasized. And while it's not going to diminish certainly the look of texture on your skin with a pearly finish, I don't think this one, I've got a hair on my face again, I don't think this one doesn't tend to emphasize it either. But the pearly finish on it is, I think it looks really, really pretty. And then I just went in one more time just to build this up. Now, I wouldn't wear it this deep for my everyday makeup. I think it's just far too much. But I just want to show you how easily you can build these. And as I said, I just tap very lightly into the powder. You could tap a little bit harder and you'd probably get this payoff a lot more quicker. But for me, probably just the very first time that I tapped this in and popped it on my cheeks, that would be enough for me. I'm going to be washing this off in a minute anyway. I just want to show you how much payoff there is. These are definitely buildable, and I think this shade is really pretty. So next I'm going to go into the shade Rosewood, and I've picked up a different brush, and this is a Chukuhodo one. This is a natural hair brush, and we'll see how this applies. Again, I didn't go in very hard to pick any up, and this is quite a soft and fluffy brush, and you can see how much pigment there is. So this is a deeper shade anyway, but I think it is gorgeous. But for me, for future use, I'll have to go very lightly in, and just so I can build up a little bit more, because with just 1 tap in, this is definitely enough for my everyday makeup. But I will go in again just to show you how this can build up. So I'll just lightly go in again. You can see the pigment that it picks up on the brush, and we'll just go over that again. So they've definitely improved the formula with the amount of payoff that you get. So I'd say they have been listening and worked on that. These blend out really beautifully and just gorgeous. I actually love both shades. I love Candy. I love it that it has that little bit of that pearly finish in it, but I also like this one as well. Now this one is the blurring, so it's more matte, and this definitely looks more mattified and blurred this side than this side here, so it really depends what type of finish you want. So what I'm going to do now is wash this off, and then we'll put on the shade Toffee. So now let's get into the final shade, the one Toffee. I've wiped down my Victoria Beckham beauty brush, so use that, and I'm really pleased this is going to be the last blush that I put in on my cheeks, because all this wiping off, once I wipe it off, my cheeks are starting to look quite red underneath, and my skin's pretty robust, but when you're wiping off shades, it takes a bit of toll on your skin. So foundation on again, and also I've got a light dusting of powder. So let's go into Toffee. I think this is such a pretty shade. I loved it in the glow sticks, so hopefully it's going to look really gorgeous as the powder as well. Now, I thought when I swatched this, it may have a little bit of pearlescence. And I think it has got a little bit in there. Not as much, it seems, as the shade Candy that I put on. But this feels really beautiful. Again, not going in very hard into the pan, just lightly dipping in there. So this one does have that little bit of that pearly type of finish. So the only one that I've tried on that is more matte, that they call more of the blurring one, that is the shade Rosewood. But this one, Toffee, I think looks really beautiful. And because it's pH activated, it's probably going to change a little bit, a minute or two after I've been wearing it as well. But again, beautifully pigmented. I thought when I first saw this and when I got it and opened up, I thought, oh, it might be a little bit too fair for me. Just didn't look like it would really have enough punch, this shade. But I think the shade Toffee is really pretty. And I think I prefer this one over the shade Candy if you're going to choose between the two with the pearly finish, because this is a softer shade, and also the little glow that comes through as well, that pearlescence, that is more on the subtle side as well. But I think it does give a really, really pretty finish. So finally, let's take a look at these Dior. These are the Lip Glow Butters. These have peptides in them and ceramides. They're called hydrating and smoothing. They are a shine lip treatment. And the packaging, I think, is quite pretty. Now, some people might think it looks a little bit cheap, but I think the charm, and I have seen pictures of it where people have been taking the charm off and using that as a necklace, or even making them into earrings as well, or probably there's also people putting them on their bags. But you might not like the look of the charm. I think it is really lovely. Now, to note in this product, you do only get 10 mils of product, so you don't get a lot. I've got the shade on now, and this one is the shade Glazed Pink, 101 in Glazed Pink. I haven't got any lip liner on or any lipstick on underneath, so 10 mils isn't really a lot of product. Now, I have been wearing these for the last couple of days, and they do feel really beautiful on the lips. They also work really beautifully over a lip liner as well. So I've got this shade, the one pink. I've also got Toffee. And the other shade that I picked up, let's have a look. The other one is Glazed Lavender. So I'm just going to pop a little bit more of the pink on again. One thing that I do like with the applicator that you put this on with is that it is curved. So that is really nice. And even though, like I said, there's not much product, 10 mils, you only really need a tiny amount of it. To begin with, the first couple of times that I used this, I did put on a little bit. I took out a little bit too much, so you only really need the tiniest amount. So I'm just going to pop over again the one in pink. So I think the formula of these are really lovely. They are glossy, but they don't feel too thick or tacky. It really just depends whether the packaging is for you or not. I would say that by doing this, they've also tried to reach a younger demographic as well with their products. So I think amongst the younger ones, this would probably be more popular. I think the charm is nice. I thought to begin with it might get in the way, but actually I think it's quite pretty. But overall the packaging, it feels very light, and I don't think it particularly feels very luxury. So it really depends whether you like the look of this or not. So I'm just going to wipe this off and then we'll try another shade. So next is the shade Glazed Lavender, and by the looks of it, this one has quite a bit of sparkle in it. So with the shade, there is definitely some sparkle in there, but when I rub my lips together, you can't feel that sparkle at all. It's not like you can feel this chunky glitter. It just feels just really smooth, just like the other one. It's just that you do get that really pretty sparkle through. I think this is a really lovely shade, especially if you're going after an overall cooler look and you like lavender shades, then I think you would really like this one. And last but not least, we'll put on the shade Toffee. As you can see with the packaging, the outside matches the shade. So if you've got 2 or 3 of this and they're just laying down in your drawer, you could have them standing up on your vanity, of course, but if they're just laying in your drawer and even on top of the vanity, you don't have to look around to see which shade it is. You just have to look at the color and just pick the one that you want for that day. So let's try on the shade Toffee. So out of the 3 shades that I did pick up, this is the one that I like the most in Toffee. I think this is lovely, and it's not overly pigmented, but you definitely get more of a shade on your lips than say with the pink one. Really, it's just a hint of pink. It's more just like wearing just a transparent lip gloss. And this one in the lavender I think is really pretty. It has that lovely sparkle in it, and it's good that it doesn't feel gritty or anything like that. But out of the 3 shades, I think Toffee is the prettiest. So what do I think of these new Dior releases? Well, my favorites out of the ones that I did purchase are the Dior Rosy Glow Sticks. They feel chunky and really luxurious in the hand. I think the packaging on these are just, they are outstanding. And when you're paying more for your makeup, then packaging does make quite a bit of difference. Now with the blushes, I think these are beautiful and that they are definitely more pigmented, and they also blend out really beautifully as well. But out of the 3 blushes that I did purchase, my favorite is the one Rosewood, and that's because it doesn't have that pearlescence in it. Some people might really love this, but for me, I prefer this one Rosewood. It is more mattifying and it has a beautiful blurring effect as well. The pearlescence in the other 2 shades is really lovely. But if I was going to reach for one really with my everyday makeup and I could only choose one of the 3 that I did get, then I would get the one Rosewood. Now the other thing with these, and someone may be able to help me with this, is if you're trying to decide which is the mattifying one, well it's not really mattifying, but the one that's more matte and blurring, or between the ones that have the pearly finish in it, it doesn't really say on any of the packaging, and it doesn't really say on the website either, but someone may be able to help me out with a comment on that. And if someone is able to tell the difference and they can explain it to me in a comment, then I will pin that comment so you can take a look. But for me, if I had to choose out of the 3 powder blushes, it would be the one Rosewood. And these lip glow butters, I think the formula is really lovely. I don't think it is groundbreaking, although I do love the shade that I've got on now, Toffee. I do think that is really beautiful, and out of the 3 that I purchased, this is probably the one that I'm going to wear the most. The packaging is probably not for everyone. Some people might not like the charm and find it annoying. As I said, I do think with this type of packaging they are trying to reach perhaps younger audience for the purchasing of Dior. You don't get a lot of product in this. You get 10 mils, which isn't a lot, and I think for the price that you pay, I think it's somewhere around $42 US, then you are probably paying more for this charm. What I do think though is that they'll probably be quite popular later in the year when there's a Sephora sale or other places have got a sale, and these would be really good as an extra Christmas present as well. And even though there's some people that may not like the packaging on those Dior lip butters, not too long ago, about 2 or 3 months ago, remember Charlotte Tilbury came out with, I think it's still available at some places, she came out with those, the blush and the powder in the heart with the jewel on the front, and a lot of people said that was cheap and it looked like Polly Pocket, and in comments people were rubbishing it, and yet that just sold out like hotcakes. So what some people might think is tacky or cheap, other people are going to love. It really just comes down to personal preference. So what have you picked up from this collection? Let me know in the comments below, and as always I look forward to seeing what you have to say. So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.